another episode of Nourish Webinars. I am so happy to have Yukti Kapoor Mehandiratta with us again in another episode. We've interacted with her, learned about how she grew the academy quickly in the first few months to a big scale. I think it's time now for our next session and understand how she's gone to yet another level and been able to scale the academy to close to 500 students now that we just heard about. So, Yukti, welcome. I'm looking forward to learn all the secrets and the secret sauce behind SBYacademy.in.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Kinna, for having me here once again. It's always a pleasure to be on this platform. Thank you.
Great. So I'll not waste too much of time of our viewers. They want to get into the secrets and understand, how you've been constantly able to add learners to your platform. And let me highlight there, these learners that are there on your platform are some of the leaders of large corporations to government organizations. If you could highlight some of that, I mean, what kind of audiences are attending courses on SBY Academy now?
So our profile is pretty much mid to senior management in the corporate world, or business owners themselves. And it's interesting to see how open they are to extend this invitation to their one-downs, which is their core team. So that's the typical profiling that we have. And it's also interesting to observe a decent mix of men and women. As much as one would imagine more men to sign up, but we have quite a good number of women as well who aspire to be better leaders.
I mean, you inspire women to be successful and to reach out for making their own brands as well as start their own ventures. So, I mean, kudos to you. I've seen you inspiring so many women around the world. I've seen and attended some of your sessions. And one difference that we have today that we did not have last time, I have personally been attending one of your programs. So I can testify and vouch for the brilliance that you've displayed in so many various facets there. So let me just jump into one quick diagram mind map that we had built. I want to share it with our viewers, and this is, you see this on the screen now. So what we are talking about here, this that you see on the screen is the mind map of a funnel that any successful online course seller or a content seller utilizes. So what people usually do is the top funnel, this is the sales funnel, so to say, is the awareness stage where people show high value content, could be webinars, short courses, videos, ebooks. And I have to mention that you've really utilized this top funnel so well. Could you highlight how does your top funnel of the your sales process looks like? How have you built it?
So, Kinnard, as much as it might look as if it's an overnight success, it really isn't. In fact, I don't even call this as a success as yet. It is work in progress, and that's how it should be, forever work in progress. But having said that, I think you've got to start building community by adding value in a genuine way, even before you want to put out something that you want people to consume and pay for. Right. So it doesn't happen because we're spending a lot of money on the ads, or because suddenly we're not giving people a choice, but throwing our face of products out there on every page they click. As much as it has its own positives, and it does get converted into some amount of business. But if you're really looking at recurring business and following from people who genuinely benefit from what you have to offer, it has to start with building awareness about the space, the messaging, before you get to the awareness related to the product or the offering. So that's how we started. We started talking about what is leadership? Why are we talking about leadership? What's our view about leadership? To what extent is it lacking? What are the repercussions of that? And then, some micro videos on LinkedIn, and basically engaging content that people could relate with, people could find value in, without us putting out anything we want them to do thereafter.
So let me bring up that diagram again. Now, here, what you look at in the top of the diagram, you see these channels: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And I think LinkedIn as a source of traffic has worked really well for you. Am I correct in saying that?
Absolutely right. That's true.
So the way you have built your awareness funnel on the top with high value content is what you're saying are these short videos, and I know they're very well done. I think I've looked at some of your course videos and some of the content. I think you do pour out your heart there. You do share so much that you don't hold back. I think some of the content creators that I met, they feel, let's not say this much on a free platform. I'll put this in the course. But what I do see you regularly sharing on the platform is so much of value content that people would want to put behind the wall, but you don't. So that's fantastic. And why I'm showing this again is that all the people watching this have to understand this top of the funnel is the key to success. And Yukti, so if you could highlight any other ideas on the top funnel content here that you see, HVCs that you are distributing or using.
So we do webinars, and I think the last entire year, even before pandemic took over, we were delivering free webinars every single week. We haven't missed out a single week. And I remember, one of these weeks was Karwa Chauth last year, and it's every Wednesday. So that happened to be a Wednesday, and I decided to be kind to myself and kind of skip that one Wednesday last year. And I got messages in the morning saying, we haven't got the invite. We're looking forward to the webinar. And I had to apologize saying, I don't think I should talk too much today because I can't eat or drink anything the whole day. But that was the only exception. And what was good and what validated the effort being spent for as long as October, which is when, the people were really reaching out to know why it's not happening, was to say that when you are consistent with your messaging, with your intent to add value, you get genuine followers, and then it becomes more of a pull than a push. So, there are a lot of people who do webinars, Kinnard, but if you're going to use webinar to give 10% knowledge and 90% pitch, then soon people will understand that, and that will start dipping for you. You've got to do exactly the opposite, 90% value. And then maybe 10%, talk about what you want them to buy or what you want them to look at. Having said that, it cannot happen from the first webinar itself, not even the first month, but over a period of time. You've got to pace that out to see whether people understand what you're saying. Are you really adding value? How many people in your webinar are coming for the next one, for example? That's a good metric to look at. What percentage of people want to follow each and every webinar that you have to offer? And that will
How do you measure that?
So that's easy to measure because you will have pre-registrations for these webinars, I'm presuming. And when you have the list of attendees, you know how many of them have been following and have been attending your webinars. In fact, I kind of know so many people just through this process that it feels as if I've known them personally for a long time, because it's just there for every single session that I take, irrespective of the topic. As much as it is within the leadership space, there are so many different elements and aspects of leadership one can touch upon. And yet these people will make time because they've blocked their calendar for every Wednesday for that time for you. And they will show up. So that creates the testimony of you adding value, which for me is the first level that you're talking about, right? Where you're creating awareness by establishing your credibility as an expert first. Now, why for you? Why shouldn't I do something else in that 1 hour? So that's an important question to answer.
I have another question that I think is very relevant at this point. This is been asked by one of our attendees on the platform. So I'm just going to show it to you on the screen now, and I think it's very relevant to address here. We've got Shauna asking, are you running ads on LinkedIn to promote your courses? What are your lead costs and return on your ad spends?
Well, good question there, but the honest answer to that is no. We have just started with our ad campaigns as recently as about 2 weeks. Too early to really talk about numbers in terms of the returns on the ad spent. But as of now, we haven't spent a dime on ads on any platform.
So now let me jump back on the diagram again, and I want to focus on the other bits that we've seen you utilizing and where there's excellent value that you've got. Now, once people have looked at the high value content, which I understand from you that you utilize webinars and videos, and I think I've also seen some really excellent interviews that you've done with some subject matter experts. So that's like the top funnel. Now, in the consideration stage, where people say social media ads are run, you get people to buy now, and I know that you built a really considerable sized business by not running any ads or running very, very few ads. So would you like to throw some more light on that, Yukti?
Yes, so to be honest, I think this the ad spend and the digital space is something we're exploring, and there are two ways to look at it. One is to see whether you need to use this space for brand awareness, brand visibility, or do you need to use this space for lead generation. So obviously, lead generation follows brand visibility. First, you've got to put yourself out there, create a name for yourself, and then you're able to run more lead generation campaigns. So for as of now, we have been doing only event-specific ads. So if we have like a crash course, which we are more committed to this year. Last year we had one crash course. This year we're planning to have one every month. And for that crash course, we'll put out ads, and that will be focused promotion talking about that course and telling people why they should attend the course and so forth. But an ongoing ad spend, it makes more sense if you are still at the phase of creating that brand awareness for yourself. And like I said a while back, for us that happened even before we started pushing out stuff or offerings, because there were some videos that we had put out on LinkedIn that was all free content talking about leadership. So we created a community that believed in what we believe in, and then later we created products and offerings that we could put forward. So they were very we got an overwhelming response because people were kind of waiting to go deeper than just those videos with us. So it was that's another approach that you can have. It might take a little longer depending upon your own pedigree and credibility, but that's one approach. And the other is that you start with some amount of budget for your digital marketing space, create awareness about your brand, create value, and then start doing lead generation campaigns.
What kind of a budget are we talking about?
It's a function of the kind of returns you have. It's returns you expect. It's a function of the ticket size of your product or offering, and also the TG that you have. Right? What is the purchasing power you think your target audience has? What is the cost of your own product or offering? And hence what's the return that you're looking at. So for example, right now our level 1 leadership program is priced at 9,999, and the crash course that we offer, which is a 4-hour program over a weekend, is for 1,499. Right, so now that's a smaller ticket size. So if you're looking at that, I mean, roughly you should expect 10% conversion from whatever budget that you have in mind. So in all probability, what makes sense is for us to do some reverse math to say that if this is the number of registrations I want, or this is the money that I'm looking at, how much do I need to spend on the ad, so that what I'm looking at as returns is 10% of what I'm spending. So the initial investment on marketing is going to be much higher. The returns will be lower, but slowly it catches up. Slowly you will realize that you don't have to spend that amount of money. It becomes a percentage game. So whatever you are earning out of the digital space, allocate about 15-20% of it to go back into marketing. Initially, it will be as high as 50-60% perhaps. But over a period of time, it phases down to 15%, 20%, 15%.
I would like people to kind of keep this in mind. And I think this is a brilliant insight that it could be as high as 50-60% in the beginning. A lot of people don't know this. And I think thanks for adding that. I mean, I talk about this with everybody coming online and trying to launch a course or trying to sell online. I think it's extremely important to be able to do that. Now, I would like to bring up the map again on screen and show how you are optimizing the funnel further, because that's the core of what we are trying to do here. Now, if you look at this map, I would like to highlight what you have done at the stage that is the next stage of decision. How do you make people convert? So once they've attended your program, are you running offers? And I know that you've run some offers. You see that on screen, that the decision stages, you have a focused, targeted audience. You could convert them with offers. Is there any other strategy that you've utilized at this decision stage, Yukti?
So, when you are narrowing down, you've got to strengthen the value proposition. So, which means when you're talking about, say, a basic product, nothing is basic for everyone. Everybody is at a different level of growth. So, from a pure leadership aspect, if I were to talk about our level 1 product, it's not so basic for someone who's just started their career, for example. Right? They will find it to be quite high level of content in terms of the depth that the content has and the detailing that we are covering in the course. But if it's a senior management around 10-15 years of experience, they would consider that to be a good refresher course. So what's basic for me might not be basic for you. So when you are defining the course, what is the level that you are imagining it to be at when it has to be consumed by someone who's purchasing your product or offering? So that clarity helps us to then go deeper with the value proposition. So which means the second course that we have, which is Upskilling Leadership Challenge, goes 10 notches higher in terms of the content and the detailing and the tools and techniques that we're talking about in the leadership parlance in that course. So that is for top management. And then there's another level to it, which is leadership with spirituality.
So I'll go there. I'll actually take a few minutes before I show that on screen, the way you have built the entire journey, which is just amazing. I mean, I can tell you that very few people are able to kind of build an entire user journey, which maximizes the return on investment at every stage. So last bit in this picture that you see is post-purchase nurture. So after they have bought the course, this is where I loved your program and structure, because what you've done is on every single day, you've utilized the emailing system built on Nourish to send mails every time a piece of content is released for you. And I saw that there are interviews with celebrities. There are excellent tips and tricks. In fact, one of those emails said that, why don't you join my community on LinkedIn, where people have to keep in mind here, everybody watching, that building a community can let you upsell, nurture the relation, also enrich their understanding of the entire domain better and better, because I think, Yukti, you share a lot of interesting content within the community too. So any highlight on that, and then I'll show people what does your funnel and the process look like.
Sure. So, what helps people to make a decision is to connect with the same values, right? When you're talking about adding value, how genuinely are you doing that? So, for example, what makes it easier for our, people to stay within the community or even become a part of the community is some of the bundled products that we have. So when you look at like a 15 days program, and when you start with that journey and you know that this is amazing stuff, you don't want to end it with just 15 days. So then you want to go for the next level as well. And then that's when we came up with a bundled course. So we said, why do level 1 and then sign up again for level 2? We created a bundled course.
So let me show people. Let me show them how does your bundled course look like. Okay, so I have this structure built by our team. So you have free webinars on the top. You do a goal setting course, which is a crash course. Is that chargeable or is that a free course, Yukti?
Yes, that's chargeable. It's a 4-hour course. And this is the space that we have opened up now for every single month. We'll be doing a crash course, a different topic every month within the leadership space. This is a crash course essentially for 2 reasons. One, for those who can't commit for a longer duration, and have a learning path for as long as even 15 days. And 2, it's a low ticket. So it's a good way for one to taste, the quality of content that they will sign up for the other products.
And that's brilliant, because you've just made it so easy to get into the system and to taste and try how good is the content. And that's actually something that I would like to highlight to everybody trying to build an academy, that this is one of the best ways you could monetize a community and build a scale up monetization method. So after Yukti's crash course, which are going to be different topics, and I didn't know about that, I thought only going to be goal setting. You get to do an upskilling leadership blueprint, which is the program that I enrolled for. So upskilling leadership blueprint is a 2 week course, and I think it's priced at roughly 9,999, or is it 4,999?
9,999.
9,999. And then what you do is you take them, people who pass this program, I think you check for the certification. Is that right, Yukti?
Yes.
And I remember you had pushed us to build that feature in analytics that you should be able to automate and understand if there were certifications being passed. So after that, you get them to enroll in Upskilling Leadership Challenge right at the time when they've downloaded their certificate. It's fresh in their memory and the impact is still there. So you kind of promote this program, which is how, what is the cost, Yukti, if we could highlight here?
So that's 999.
Okay. So it's kind of a step up. Now they've been able to swipe their card for 9,999, and they've seen how great the course is. So you kind of have a higher value content. Then the 6 weeks long program, Upskilling Leadership program, which is priced again at, if you could highlight what is the price of this.
So here we bundle both. So the blueprint is 9,999. And the next one is 14,999. Sorry, not 19. And then we bundle that together for 19,999. Leadership program is for basically 20K, while the other two add up to be a higher amount. And this is like in progression, one after the other. So it's just one sequence.
Excellent. And then you have the last program, which is Upskilling Leadership Mastery.
Yes, that's a longer engagement. It's a 1-year program with all live masterclasses and a lot of content that they can consume at their own time. So this is a program where we blend spirituality with leadership. So the kind of people who we have seen showing interest in this are exactly the ones we had in mind when we were designing the course. These are the people who are leading organizations from the front, and they want to go deeper within themselves to understand their core style of leadership and what is it that they need to do to get to their next level. And that self-exploration is where spirituality comes really handy. And what we have done in this course is created a structure, because what is missing in the spirituality space is structure. It is so open for interpretations, and hence it gets very difficult for us to understand the practical usage of spirituality. So it looks like a very utopian thing to do, that great to be this person who never means harm or causes harm, but we're in a real world, and if we don't kill someone, someone will kill us. And a lot of us operate from that mindset, knowing that it doesn't serve us too well. So how do you use spirituality for materialistic success? Because there's no harm in being materialistic about your success or having desires to have a better lifestyle.
And this particular topic is not touched in that depth in the other programs. It's only in the final, the 12 months long program that you touch this in. And if I'm not wrong, that's about 80,000 rupees. So that's kind of a little more than $1,000, right?
Yes.
One interesting question here would be, what is the rate of conversion from, let's say, 100 people joined your first program? How many are going to take the what is the percentage of conversion that somebody could expect while building a brilliant journey like that?
So let us keep in mind that irrespective of how good the content is, whether it is on SBY Academy or any other that you've heard of, content completion, as in the course completion percentage, is quite low. People buy a lot of stuff digitally, and they don't really go all the way to complete it. So completion per se would be maybe about 20% of the course bought, right? In our case, it's quite high, and that could probably, I'm calling that as an aberration, because we to do another 20,000 to see what that percentage would really look like. But for us, it's 35% from ULB to ULC. And then from ULC, people then move on to ULM. So in ULM, our spiritual leadership course, we've got 15% people who have not done the earlier two courses, and the rest 85% have come from ULB, then completed ULC, and then signed up for ULM. So they've covered the entire journey, and that's the association. So they didn't want it to break, and hence they continued with that. So everyone who's moved into 85% of people who moved into our flagship program have come from the earlier two.
What is it that you're thinking to improve that rate? Is there any plan in place? Are there any formulas that people could think of? What is your plan of action that you could improve that rate of people coming from the bottom program to the top one? Or is it just increasing the number of people within the crash course and the course after that is going to impact your top course takers?
So it will be both, Kiran. It has to be first about increasing the denominator. Right, you reach out to more people, and more people need to come into maybe the first level, whether it's the crash course or our level 1 course, which is the blueprint. And it's also about creating more engagement with people once they become a part of the community. So for now, we have our LinkedIn community, which is very active. It's a closed group. Only people who have consumed one of these products that we have are a part of that community, where every Monday they get a special dope on leadership covering some of the key challenges that we are facing as founders, as business owners, how to crack them. We've got our own paid resources that we utilize for our members, and we give them a sneak peek into some of the real marquee strategies that organizations have used internationally to overcome those leadership challenges. So that's a content which is priceless, and that comes complimentary to our community. Another interesting thing about this community is the internal bonding that people have developed with each other. Right, there is a very good networking between people, and when I say networking, it's not about trying to get business of each other, but really supporting each other's learning journey. So the kind of conversations we have, whether it's our WhatsApp community or a LinkedIn community, is what are you reading these days? I'm facing this challenge in my organization. What's your view? What do you guys think we could do? And the suggestions are pouring in from other leaders. Like, this is what worked for me. So it's become a best practice sharing platform. It's become a platform for people to share knowledge with each other. We're sharing books worth reading. And so it's basically a platform for lifelong learners who are not restricted to it being just a hashtag, who are genuinely signed up to learn something new every day, and we're somehow attracting more and more of such people. And I still feel that we haven't even scratched the surface when it comes to getting this kind of audience onto becoming a part of our tribe. So I think there are many more out there that we intend to reach out, and that's the plan for this year.
Amazing. Now I would like to just quickly go back to the map again, because I would like to use the next 3 to 4 minutes to show and talk about some of the other excellent strategies that you've utilized. And I think community is one of the most powerful ones, that you've been able to tap into. And I think it's really a great advantage to be part of such a program where people are able to see what other people are talking about, if they could bounce off ideas. So excellent. And what I'll do is I'll share the screen now and talk quickly about what are the delight factors that you use. I've seen your content is so engaging. Your offerings listen to the audience, and you're listening to your learners all the time and addressing the problems and questions they're asking. In fact, I've had a few questions of myself which you've been able to address and throw some suggestions around from your experience. So the surprise edition, so everybody should take a note of this, that things like a celebrity interview, a real high value piece of content that people were not expecting, just adds so much of value. The second bit that I've seen you utilizing really well, which you've addressed, is the community bit, which I've addressed in engagement. And that's one of the key secrets of your success, if I could call it that, Yukti. And I think this is just amazing. Would you like to talk a little bit more about maybe how people could look at building these communities? How can they customize their messages across mediums. And we've also got this question from somebody named Rohit. So before I open the floor for more questions, I think let's begin with this one, and try and address what is your secret to building a great community?
So I think, when people talk about building a community, they expect the community to just take off. It will never happen, irrespective of how you're framing it, and whatever objectives you may put down for that community. You've got to be actively driving that platform yourself, for which there needs to be some kind of prep. You've got to have some clarity on what that community is all about, and what are you serving through that community. How will that community function? What is the value add that the community brings forward? Why should people participate, and what should they take away? So, for example, we have clarity on the content for the next entire month, and it should actually be next 3 months, and that's what my team is working on right now. So we know exactly what we are putting out as new information. And when you put out something as new information, then conversations begin. Then people start commenting on that. They share their experiences, and the rest follows. So there are 3 things that I want you to, probably take away on building a community. Number 1, never think about building a community for the heck of it, thinking that the moment you do, it'll just take off like that. It takes a long time. You need to know the why for it, and then be patient about it. Patiently stay there, hold the space, and keep adding to that space yourself. So that's the second point. You lead from the front, and you keep adding to that space. You become the most active member without worrying about how many responses are you getting from other people, and keep a process through which you can add more people to the community. What will be the prerequisite for one to be a part of your community? Because if it's open to all, then no one holds it really, right? So what's the prerequisite? So for us, prerequisite is you've got to buy one of our leadership courses. And when you do that, you show us your commitment towards learning. And then we bring you on to this community. And then you have access to all other leaders who are doing amazing jobs, in their own careers. And you connect with them to learn from each other. So that's the second thing to remember. The third thing to remember is to allow people to add to the community as well. You don't have to single-handedly drive it. So if there is a question that comes up on that community on leadership, I don't have to necessarily have a stand on that. In fact, before I do, there are 4 other opinions already. And allow that space for people to, interact and connect with each other. It's a community. It's not me to you. It's us to each other.
I have a question here. The question is from Gurpreet, actually, and this is an interesting one, which should be addressed for every community. He's asking, how do you react to negative reviews about your course, and not just outside on the front pages and on outside platforms? What do you do about them within the community, or are there any? So what are your take? What's your take on this?
So as of now, I'll say, Gurpreet, God's been kind and we haven't received any negative reviews, but not to say it will not happen. In fact, the more you put yourself out there, the more you should be ready for some negative reviews to come your way as well. And that in a way is an indication of your visibility. But I do remember one comment that I read on LinkedIn. And interestingly, this was somebody talking highly of one of the courses that we offer, spirituality courses, and somebody just commented saying, if it's spirituality, why is it so expensive, or something on those lines. And that's when I decided to sit back and read that comment a few times to understand what is the real concern of the person who's sharing this. What we need to remember about negative reviews is not to take it personally, because the attack is not on you. There is a view which is contrary to what you passionately believe in, doesn't mean it's a personal attack on you. So the moment you detach yourself from the comment is when you can appreciate the comment from where it comes. And that's when you empathize and say, okay, so this person is talking about spirituality, and spirituality is about being nice, and so why should there be a price to it? But then with that logic, why should we ever buy water? Why should we ever buy food? All of this is supposed to be a natural resource and freely available, right? But everything comes at a price. But as long as you can add. So my comment to that particular comment, for example, was more aligned to first agreeing with the perspective the person shares, and then bringing in, some bit of where we are coming from without really addressing it with defense, but adding another perspective. And having said that, it doesn't have to necessarily keep going on. There are people who just sit online to just do this sometimes. Thankfully, maybe I wasn't dealing with one such person, because I think she understood where I was coming from, and then we very nicely concluded that discussion. Not to say it'll always happen that way. There are people who are just sitting just for kicks, right? And they'll just throw something at you because they can. And that's when you've got to learn to keep doing what you're doing. Right? Focus on the road and avoid the wall. The moment you look at the wall, into it, right? So when you're
Gurpreet is asking, isn't social media mostly negative? This is an add-on that he's just posted here.
Well, that's really a function of one's experience, right? Negative and positive is totally basis the experience that we've had. And like I said, the more you put yourself out there, Gurpreet, the more you will probably attract negativity. And it's on us. How personal do we take that? And does that stop us from doing what we're doing? And there are a lot of people who will point all 10 fingers at you and say, whatever you do is all crap. And then you look at them, and then you tell them that you see them, and then you still move on. Because you're on your own path with your own purpose, and not everyone has to understand and agree to that. But as long as you know it, like I said, if you focus on the road, then you don't get distracted by the wall. Because the moment you look at the wall, you will bump into it. So let's just be on the road and keep doing what we're doing with our intentions in place. And there is no one in this world who's loved by everyone else, isn't it? No one. There are people who have talked enough against Mother Teresa. Who are we? So, so never worry about the trolls and the negativity that's around. There is always a way for us to detach ourselves emotionally from that and just keep moving on. That's spirituality.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that. That's the best way you could address this question. And I think we all need to keep that in mind, because internet, you're going to get different views all the time. So I'm going to take another question, and I think we'll have time for maybe 3 or 4 of these today. So this is an interesting one. Sumita is asking, how do you decide the price for your courses? How much is too much or too less? What's your pricing strategy really?
Yeah, so that's $1 million question, Sumita. Pricing is something that comes from two aspects. One is a little bit of homework. When you study the space, you see what are the kind of prices that people are offering similar courses at, what is the pace of consumption. So that's one reference that you may want to consider. And then the second is for you to see the value that you're adding, how you're leveraging on the credibility that you have or don't as yet, and hence you may want to start low, because if somebody has starts, for example, Sanjeev Kapoor, if he's talking about cooking, he'll start at a certain level because we've associated him with cooking and recipes for a long time before he has to put something out for us to buy in the digital space. But if it's Yukti Kapoor, who's not known for cooking and putting herself out there, then I've got to study the market and then start from the lower side of the range until I build my credibility on that subject in that space.
Let me add here something for everybody watching this. That Yukti Kapoor Mehandiratta is no less than a celebrity. She was just named by Fortune magazine as one of the most influential leadership coaches in the country. So we will buy and pay heavy prices for your programs too.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Kina. That's kind of you. But to take this forward, I think we've got to wait for the credibility to be established, have a testimony and evidence of the fact that it's there within the space that you want to govern, and study the market to see where the pricing is for similar products, and then create the right number for yourself, the right pricing.
I'll take a quick question here. This is by Sahil. Actually, you've already addressed this. I think Divya's question is very relevant here. So Divya is asking, how do you identify which courses to create? Because you've created several, and you're saying on the base level, the crash courses, you're going to also do a lot more, almost one every week. what is your decision matrix look like? I mean, how do you decide? How do you choose the best programs?
Yes. So for us, our audience and our community is the boss. They tell us what to do, we just follow. So we listen very, very carefully to our community. We listen very carefully to our audience, even to people who come for a webinar. It could be a free webinar, but we always conclude the webinars by asking them a question on what more do they want to learn? What more would be a value add for them? And then our turnaround time on that is really short. So we quickly turn that around into a meaningful format and we deliver that. So every time we plan to launch something, even if it's a webinar, it's a function of what people have asked for initially. And we keep adding more and more to that database by putting these questions out to our community every now and then. What more do you want? What more do you want? And then we just facilitate that.
Okay, excellent. I've got another question. I think we'll take this as the last one. Now, Abhishek has asked a question on how do you map the user journey? Now, he's saying you convert visitors into paying customers. Which methods have worked well? I know you've addressed this earlier in various formats, but I think it's a good recap to what is your entire journey or the sales funnel how do you begin just talking to customers on platforms to how they become customers and how do you nurture? So I think it's a good summary of what we have spoken about today.
Okay, so let's imagine Abhishek, who happens to see a post on LinkedIn from SBY Academy and then sees some interesting comments there and then is curious to know what's this all about and visits the website. Now, when that person visits the website, there should be a call to action there for Abhishek to do something if he wants to learn something better. But Abhishek is not yet ready to pay anything because he's still trying to sniff around to see whether this is my space or not. And that's when he comes across a free webinar on the website. So he says, all right, no harm done. I can attend a free webinar. Let's see what this is all about. And he comes for that webinar. When he attends the webinar, he enjoys a lot of value from that webinar, but 95% of the webinar was just about adding value. It felt as if you really did a course and you got this like for a steal because you paid nothing. And you would have probably paid a high amount if you were to really learn something like that in an hour's time. And then at the end, we encourage you to share what more do you want to learn. And the moment Abhishek signed up for that webinar, he shared his email address. So that's where our communication started. Now we've started sending him mails for everything that we do, any appearance that I make, any interview or anywhere, any such platform where I think I'll be sharing something that could be of value to Abhishek. Abhishek will receive a communication through email on that. Now, another thing that he will realize very soon is a lot of testimonials will be shared with him. Not like he won't be bombarded, but very well-placed testimonials will come his way where people will share their success stories of what has happened for them when they did a course with SBY Academy. How has that helped? How has that changed anything for them? And that builds curiosity for Abhishek to say, okay, if I really have to get started, let me see what is the minimum possible. And then he signs up for a crash course. And then, it starts trickling down to other things when he starts getting deeper and deeper into value proposition. As it said, when you charge X, you've got to make sure that you offer 10X. But I believe that you should not measure it to just 10X. You should make sure that it's 100X. Even if that X is 0, you've got to make sure that you're adding 100 times the value that one can expect or imagine should come from your session.
Now that's something, don't stop at 10X, go to 100X. I thought that I'll take the last question, but in the last 1 minute, I've got 9 more. I think it's fair to probably just take 1 or 2 more because I think it's people have so much that they want to know about what's your secret and how do you do it. So I'll take one which is by Veena. And Veena is asking, how are you driving more sales then? Organic communities can only go so far.
Yes. So let me honestly confess that inorganic growth for me is just a number. right? It's a number. Organic growth is the real growth, because that's when people know you. I feel that we have really underestimated organic growth to start with. It grows as fast as 3000x, because each one of us have 2000 to 3000 of our own connects. The moment I connect with you, I have connected with 2000 other people you know. So organic growth doesn't end with just you, Reena, right? If I have you by my side, I have your 2000 by my side as well. So what we don't capture is the power of that 2000x that comes with organic growth. And we just land up feeling insecure about getting stuck with all that we know, and then we dive into the unknown. Everything else is just an analytics, and we have no idea who are these 10,000 people who are reading my ad, and out of that 5 people call me. For those 5, I'm going to get to reach 10,000, because each will bring in 2,000 more who will listen to him or her when they talk. Are you with me? So let us exploit organic growth the way it should be used and understood first. And yes, we can look at inorganic growth as well. We should have probably a machinery of digital marketing where people are able to read about you, understand you, even if there is nothing that connects us both. So it's not this or that, it's this and that. But in my view, it's first this, then that. It's first organic, and getting your 2000x from organic, and then expanding to inorganic.
I've got an excellent question from Purohit. Now, Purohit is asking, which social media channels then should we focus on? There are so many popping up each day. Have you looked at Clubhouse? It's a rage these days, isn't it? People are asking for, could you connect me to somebody, sending me an invite? So what's your answer there, Yukti?
I think it's very easy to get carried away these days with the popularity. In fact, even as entrepreneurs and digital entrepreneurs, we should be very wary of slipping into popularity contest, because there is a difference in being popular stroke influencer and being a digital entrepreneur. So when you are being an entrepreneur, you're there for business. The focus is on adding value. And when you're adding value, you need to realize that you're not adding value in the same extent, with the same intensity to everyone in the world. There isn't any one thing that can add equal amount of value, the same level of intensity to everybody. So who really values what you are bringing to the table? And then where are these people? Where are your target audience? Are they more on Facebook? Are they more on LinkedIn, or wherever else they are is your platform? So your platform is not what you love. Your platform is where your target audience is, where your people are. And that's what we've got to then become an expert at, find the right way to communicate on those platforms, because our strategy to communicate will differ from platform to platform. Like Insta, for example, is very visually appealing. So you've got to put more pictures there, or, short IGTVs, those kind of videos. LinkedIn is more about sharing knowledge and going deeper and, bringing the intellectual side of you. So there is a very different way to communicate on each one of these, and none of which is rocket science. You can easily adapt to any style of communication, for as long as you know where your audience is, people who will find value in your offering.
Thank you so much, Yukti. I am seeing that the questions aren't stopping. So I think we'll have to kind of take a pause. And I would want to kind of say that this is one of my favorite academies on the platform, with close to 15,000 academies. I don't want to side with one, but I mean, there are so many great ones, and there are all kinds of people. But I think you've latched on to some really great strategies and honest business practices that truly add value to you, to what you're trying to deliver to your learners. And I think, it enriches their lives. So, and I'm seeing more and more people adopting this, but I think it's so important for us to highlight the best practices and how you've been able to do it. So thank you so much for taking out the time today. And I really hope we will be able to do this again. And thank you so much. Is there any last comment or any words of inspiration that you would like to leave our viewers with? And most of these people are trying to build businesses online. They're trying to either teach, coach, share knowledge online. So any last suggestion?
Thank you for allowing me to say that, because I think I have a very important message to convey. And the message is to say that we've got to run out of excuses to put ourselves out there and let the world know the value that you can bring in for who you are. And platforms like Nourish have made it very, very easy for us to do that. If I can do it, you can do it. Trust me, I have forever felt like I'm technologically handicapped and this is so not me. But we have done the entire course delivery from the scratch. I have done the production bit myself. We've brought it onto the platform, starting with the content development to structuring to production to post edits to just about everything. There is no big team that sits here to do all of this. Now, for sure, we're expanding, and so we're growing bigger in our team size, but we started so lean. I mean, I pretty much did every bit for the first course that we launched. And it's easy. So all that it takes is for us to understand and be clear about what we are ready to offer, what we are good at, how will we add value through what we are offering, whether it's a product or a service. And then it's just about quickly learning some of the platforms, such as Nourish, to get on and get started. So I would request you and urge that you don't seek perfection and drop the excuses that I need so much money and I need so much knowledge about technology and I need this and I need that. You just need your heart to be in the right place, and you need to be confident enough for what you know and how using that can you add value. That's all that you need. After that, there are many other people who will collaborate and help you to get out there.
Thank you so much. This has just been excellent. I absolutely love the way you are inspiring a lot of people, and I mean, I just wish you that just keep doing this better and better. And we are so happy that the first session that we did, your academy now has grown almost 10 to 15 times in all ways. Thank you so much, Yukti. Thanks for taking out the time, and we wish you all the luck.
Thanks so much, Ken. It was lovely talking. Bye.